Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are firing up the time machine and setting the dials for a very specific and I'd say slightly awkward evening in history.
We are indeed. We're going to Almira, New York.
And the date is Monday, October 5th, 1964.
It's a crisp autumn night. We are situated in the living room of Jane Roberts and her husband, Rob, who, for anyone new here, is usually called Joseph in the material we're covering.
And the vibe in the room is, well, it's tense.
Incredibly tense, yeah. I mean, usually these Seth sessions, they have a rhythm, there's a routine.
Right.
But on this particular night, for session 94, the whole energy is just off. Jane and Rob were expecting guests.
Their landlord, James Bassiani, and his wife, Marion, they were supposed to come over and see a session firsthand.
Which is, let's be honest, a really high-stakes situation.
Oh, for sure. This is 1964. You can't just text someone, hey, running late.
No, you're just sitting there watching the clock. Jane is nervous. She's pacing. She's been waiting all day to basically prove that she's channeling this energy personality essence and not just, making it all up.
And then they just don't show.
Nothing.
Crickets.
They get ghosted.
The ultimate irony for a medium, right? To be socially ghosted by the living.
Exactly. So 8:30 p.m. comes and goes. 9:00 p.m. hits. No guests. And Jane is just completely exhausted from the anxiety of it all.
And this context, it's actually really crucial for what happens next, isn't it?
It is, because she's so tired, her defenses are way down.
And when she finally does go into the trance, Rob, her husband, he knows something really specific about her voice. It's not the booming, energetic Seth we sometimes hear about later.
Not at all, no. Rob describes it as flat, expressionless even. He said she looked like a lecture hall speaker just standing in their living room.
Glasses off, eyes dark, pacing slowly back and forth, almost clinical.
Which is kind of perfect, really, because the content of this session, it's not a pep talk. It isn't a you can do it kind of speech.
No, it's more like a technical masterclass, like a troubleshooting manual for your own consciousness.
It really is. It's Seth essentially dismantling our entire understanding of how our own brains work, especially when we're asleep.
And that is the hook for today. We are unpacking session 94 of the early sessions, book 3 of the Seth Material. And, well, if you think your dreams are just random neurons firing or your brain taking out the trash, you are in for a shock.
We're going to talk about why your intellect, your logical waking brain, is actually the worst tool you have for understanding yourself.
And we're going to look at a past life bleed-through involving, get this, 19th century naval violence.
And my personal favorite.
Go on.
Why wearing pajamas in a dream might be a subconscious sign of existential reluctance.
Plus, a cosmic explanation for why a very, very masculine brother might be destined to become a flamboyant woman in his next life.
It's the pajama game of pre-birth planning.
It is. But before we jump into the high seas and theater lobbies, just a quick housekeeping note. This deep dive is based on the source material from the Seth Material, specifically session 94, recorded October 5, 1964.
And we do want to declare up front that this podcast is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
Our mission is to guide you through this dense and fascinating material and pull out the insights. We aren't making this stuff up.
But we're here to help you make sense of it. And we always encourage you to go to the source yourself. You can find these books at the New Awareness Network website, which is sethcenter.com/early sessions.
Okay, so let's start with the problem. Seth opens this session by basically, roasting our intellect. He tells Rob that the way we try to analyze our dreams is fundamentally broken. Why is he so hard on our logic? I mean, logic is how we survive, isn't it?
It is how we survive here. And that is the exact distinction Seth is trying to make. He introduces this concept of the outer senses.
The outer senses.
Your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch. He calls these camouflage tools.
Camouflage tools. That's a really heavy term. Let's unpack that. I mean, if I see a table and I touch the table and it feels solid, how is that camouflage? It feels pretty real to me.
Think about it this way. You have a physical body, right?
Yeah.
It's for navigating a physical world.
Okay.
Your eyes evolved to see physical objects so you don't walk into walls. Your logic is designed to understand cause and effect. If I drop this, it falls. It's basically the user interface for planet Earth.
Okay, I like that. It's like the desktop on my computer. I see the little folder icons and files.
Exactly. And that interface is super useful. It lets you find your stuff. But is that folder icon the actual data?
No, of course not. The data is just a bunch of zeros and ones on a hard drive somewhere. The folder is just a symbol that makes it usable.
Precisely. So Seth argues that the physical world is the icon, not the code.
And the inner self, the part of you that dreams, That's the part that operates on the code level.
Right, it's running a completely different operating system. So when you try to use your daytime logic to analyze a dream, you're basically trying to use a hammer to analyze a symphony.
It's just the wrong tool.
The wrong tool entirely.
I've got a quote here from the session where Seth really drives this point home. He says, "A study or investigation of inner reality was not the purpose of the intellect. The intellect, again, was also and is a means by which the inner self relates itself to the camouflage physical universe which it has itself constructed."
And that last part is so massive, which it has itself constructed.
Yeah.
He's saying your inner self built the wall you're trying not to walk into. The inner self built the stage. The intellect is just, I don't know, a prop master you hired to manage the furniture on that stage.
So you can't ask the prop master to explain the playwright's deep motivations.
You can't. So when you wake up from some crazy dream and you try to force it into a logical dox, oh, the train must represent my commute to work, you're actually stripping away all the real meaning.
You're distorting it.
Completely. Seth says the intellect is addicted to cause and effect. A leads to B leads to C. But the dream world, inner reality, it operates on association and emotion. It's instantaneous. It's not linear at all.
Can you give me an example of the difference? Because my brain is definitely stuck in that cause and effect mode.
Sure. In logic, if you get in a car, you drive to a destination. Simple.
Right.
In a dream, you might get in a car, but the feeling of the leather seat, it reminds you of your grandfather's old armchair.
Okay.
So suddenly, instantaneously, the car just transforms into your grandfather's living room, and now you're eating soup.
And my intellect wakes up and just goes, that was nonsense. Cars don't turn into soup.
But the inner self says the emotional frequency of the car matched the emotional frequency of the grandfather. The association is perfectly valid on an emotional level, even if it's total gibberish logically.
So when you try to drag a dream out and analyze it with your waking mind, you're basically translating a beautiful poem into a dry legal document.
You lose the whole essence of it, yeah.
So what's the alternative then? If I can't think my way through a dream, what am I supposed to do? Just ignore it.
Seth suggests what you could call an immersion technique. He says, in order to study dreams properly, you must indeed immerse yourself in that medium.
You can't stand on the outside looking in like a scientist with a microscope.
No, you have to change the focus of your inner self.
Which sounds really easy when a non-physical entity says it, but for us.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult. We are so addicted to being objective observers. But Seth is saying you have to become subjective. You have to go back into the feeling of the dream without trying to organize it or label it.
Just feel it.
He says the inner self constantly changes its focus, like a camera lens. We just have to learn how to manually adjust that focus without our ego freaking out and shutting the whole thing down.
Speaking of freaking out, let's get into the specific examples from this session. Because Rob Jane's husband had been having some very vivid, very strange dreams.
And Seth uses the session to dissect them, really, to prove this exact point about association versus logic.
This is where the deep dive gets really fun.
It is. Rob had a dream about being on a ship, a sea voyage.
The nautical nightmare.
Right. In the dream, he's on the ship and he runs into an acquaintance from his waking life, a guy named Larry Potter.
Okay, stop there. Larry Potter, just some guy he knows in 1964 Elmira.
Just a guy. But here's the twist. Seth reveals this wasn't just a random dream about a friend.
It was a bleed through.
A bleed through from a past life, a memory from a specific area of the subconscious.
So in this past life, Rob was... what?
He was a stowaway on a vessel back in the 19th century, and this Larry Potter character, who was just a regular guy in 1964, he was the first mate on that ship in the past life.
And I'm guessing he wasn't a very nice first mate.
Not at all. In the past life reality, this first mate belittled Rob. He actually struck him. There was real physical violence.
Oh.
But here is where that conflict between the intellect and the inner self comes in. In the dream, Rob's mind couldn't face the fact that he was hit.
Why not?
It was too humiliating, maybe too scary for his waking ego to process. So his mind just suppressed that detail. He rewrote his own history in his sleep to protect his self-image.
So he's basically photoshopping his own traumatic memories.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But the karma of it all, if
Yeah.
you want to call it that, was pretty interesting.
What?
In that past life, the first mate, Potter, he got a wound during the voyage. It wasn't a big deal at first, but it developed into blood poisoning, and he died.
Oh, wow.
And Rob, as this young stowaway, felt incredibly guilty. Even though the other sailors defended Rob because they all hated the mate, Rob felt like it was somehow his fault.
And that guilt carried over.
It did. Now, this is where it gets really weird, and you have to walk me through the telephone game of the subconscious, because suddenly, in the notes, we're talking about a washing machine. How in the world do we get from a 19th century ship with a dead first mate to a washing machine?
Okay, this is the best part. It perfectly shows how the subconscious works on association, not logic. It's like a 4-step process of translation.
Okay, lay it on me. Step 1.
Step 1. Jane Rob's wife. She had a dream earlier that same night. In her dream, she saw a leaking vessel.
A leaking vessel.
But her symbol for a vessel was a household object. She dreamt of a washing machine, a tub.
Okay. Jane dreams of a leaking washing machine. Got it.
Step 2. Rob's mind picks up on Jane's dream telepathically. He grabs the concept of vessel.
Telepathic plagiarism. I like it. Check.
Step 3. Rob is already dealing with his past life memory of being at sea. So his subconscious translates vessel not as a washing machine, but back into a ship.
Okay, that tracks. Vessel equals ship. Makes sense.
Step 4. This is where the pun comes in. A ship is traditionally referred to as what?
A she, a maiden.
Exactly. And the ship in his past life was even called something with maiden in the name. So the symbol chain goes from vessel to ship to woman to mother.
Wait, the ship turned into a mom?
In the dream, the ship literally morphed into the image of Laurie Potter's mother.
No way.
Yes. So suddenly Rob isn't on a boat anymore. He's being driven in a car by his friend's mom.
That is wild.
And Seth points this out to show how the subconscious connects things by their meaning. She who carries men within her. That description applies to a ship, and it applies to a mother.
It's like a pun that becomes a physical reality in the dream. She carries men, so the boat becomes a mom. It explains why our dreams seem so bizarre. It's just these layers of metaphors and wordplay stacked on top of each other.
And if you tried to analyze that logically, you'd say, why was I in a car with Mrs. Potter? You'd never, ever get to the 19th century stowaway memory.
You have to follow the pun. You have to follow the wordplay to get to the truth.
I love that. It makes me want to look at my own crazy dreams and ask, okay, what is this silly wordplay my brain is doing here?
It's often exactly that. The inner self is a poet, not an engineer.
Well, speaking of poetry and psychological defense mechanisms, there was another dream Rob had that plays out almost like a courtroom drama.
Yes, the courtroom of the mind.
And this one shows how we use dreams as almost like a flight simulator for our emotional fights.
A perfect analogy. In this dream, Rob sees his mother on trial, and he and his brothers are the judges.
Which is, I mean, a very Freudian setup to begin with.
Very. And Seth notes that this dream happened before a real-life family argument that went down the previous Sunday.
So it's a clairvoyant event. He dreamed the fight before the fight actually happened.
He dreamt the essence of the fight. But again, his ego stepped in to distort the details to protect him.
How so?
In the dream, the mother is defending herself. She says, "He hit me in the chest," referring to the father.
A claim of violence.
Right. But Rob, in the dream, changes the dialogue. He translates "he hit me in the chest" to "the father has a spot on his lungs."
Whoa. Why would he make that specific change?
Protection. Seth explains that Rob identified with his father. He couldn't bear to see his father as an aggressor because Rob feared that same violence in himself.
Okay. So if he admits his dad is violent, he has to admit that he might be violent.
Exactly. So the mind performs this incredible acrobatic stunt. Instead of "dad hit mom," it becomes "dad is sick."
A spot on the lung. It still punishes the father. Illness is a kind of punishment, but it makes him a victim, not an abuser.
And it saves Rob from having to face that aggression directly.
That is such a sophisticated psychological self-defense.
Yeah.
But does it actually help in the long run? Or is it just delusion?
Seth says it helps immensely. He points out that because Rob lived through this fight in the dream first, when the real argument happened on that Sunday, Rob was calm.
He had already processed it.
The dream acted as a pressure valve. He'd already punished his father symbolically in the dream, so he didn't feel the need to scream at him in real life. Seth actually says, "You were much easier on your father's Sunday because the dream tipped you off."
This validates a huge idea in the Seth material, which is that time is not linear in the subconscious.
Correct.
You can emotionally process an event on Tuesday that doesn't physically happen until Sunday.
We think we react to things as they happen. Seth is suggesting we often pre-act to them in the dream state first.
Okay, let's shift gears to the next segment, which I think is even more mind-bending. This is the part that touches on what happens before we are born.
The pajama party in the theater of existence.
Yes.
This is a really profound segment. Rob dreams he is standing outside his parents' house, but he's wearing pajamas. Then he enters a theater.
And Seth says, this isn't a standard dream.
No, he says it's a memory of the state immediately preceding this physical birth.
So we're talking pre-birth planning.
Yeah.
We are literally in the lobby of life.
That's it. Rob is in the lobby, and he's deciding whether or not he even wants to go in.
And the pajamas. Is that just because he was, sleeping in real life when he had the dream?
No, Seth gives a very specific symbolic interpretation. He says the pajamas represented, symbolically, your refusal to admit the fact of, first, nakedness.
It represents a hesitation.
A hesitation about being born. To be born is to be naked and exposed and vulnerable. Rob was hesitating. He wanted to hold off birth to just kind of look around the theater of existence before he committed to the script.
It's like he's saying, I'm not ready to get dressed for the part yet. I'm just browsing.
Exactly. That is so relatable. Standing in the lobby of life in your PJs, just thinking, do I really want to go in there? It looks chaotic.
It's a vulnerability thing. Pajamas are what we wear when we are safe, asleep, hidden away.
But he's not alone in this theater lobby. He's looking for someone.
His brother, Laurent.
He's looking for Loren, and he finds him. And they, along with another entity, basically have a production meeting.
A production meeting for their upcoming lives.
Seth says, the three of you communicated. You then planned or decided to be born. It implies consent. It implies design.
We aren't just thrown here. We hold a meeting in the lobby first.
But then comes the part of this dream that, I have to say, it actually gave me chills. The bicycle man.
This is the emotional anchor of the whole dream, isn't it?
It really is. Rob sees his current father riding a bicycle past him.
Now, in 1964, Rob's dad is an older man. But in the dream...
In the dream, the father is riding a bicycle, which Seth calls a child's method of transportation. And Rob is stretching his arms, which symbolizes the sleepiness of youth.
And the father just rides past him. He nods, he smiles, but he doesn't stop.
Seth explains this so beautifully, and also it's somewhat tragic. He says Rod intended to have a brother-like relationship with his father in this life.
He wanted them to be peers, contemporaries.
But the timing was off. The father was born earlier. The vehicle carries him past.
So the passing by symbolizes that the father would die before Rob.
Yes. The nod was a blessing, a recognition, but the lack of conversation symbolized that communication between them would always be difficult in this life. They just missed their connection in time.
That is heartbreakingly beautiful. His nod, however, was a blessing upon you. It's like they agreed to play these roles, but the mechanics of physical time kept them just out of sync.
It really highlights the complexity of these pre-birth agreements, doesn't it? You can plan a relationship, but the physical reality, the camouflage, it has its own rules. Time moves, people get old, people die.
So you might miss the peer relationship you wanted and end up with a distant father relationship instead.
And realizing that it was a missed connection rather than just a lack of love, that must have been hugely healing for Rob.
Oh, totally. It reframes the whole relationship. It's not, my dad doesn't understand me. It's, we just missed our train.
Or in this case, missed the bicycle.
Okay, we absolutely have to get to the finale of this session because it seemingly ends, right? Jane is tired. Seth says goodnight.
Yes, Jane snaps out of the trance. She goes to the bathroom to wash her face. Rob is sitting there, probably rubbing his hand from taking dictation for 2 hours straight.
And they're chatting about that pre-birth dream, specifically the part where Rob saw his brother Lauren as a woman.
All right, we skipped over that detail. Rob thinks it's a mistake. He's basically saying, Seth, you got this wrong. Lauren is a dude. He's always been a dude.
And just as they are debating this,
Jane strides back into the room.
the face-washing incident.
She's still got water on her face, glasses off, and then, boom, her voice just drops. Seth is back. It's a total encore performance.
I just love the idea of Seth hovering in the ether going, wait, I forgot the best part.
He essentially did. He came back to correct the record on gender and the soul. And this is fascinating. He confirms, yes, Lauren has never been a physical woman yet, but the entity, the whole soul, has a strong feminine energy that has been suppressed for a long time.
So Lauren has been playing the tough guy role for a few too many lifetimes.
Effectively, yes. Seth says the entity has not expressed but withheld the basic femininity of its nature. And because of that suppression, there's a backlog.
A backlog of feminine energy. That sounds, I don't know, volatile.
It is. Seth predicts, and this is a direct quote that Rob actually underlined in the manuscript, the personality will manifest itself forcibly as a woman in most flamboyant terms.
In the next life.
In the next life. Because he suppressed that intuitive feminine side for so long, the pendulum has to swing all the way to the other side to balance things out.
So he won't just be a woman. He will be a flamboyant woman.
To compensate.
This is such a cool concept of karma. It's not about punishment at all. It's just about balance. If you deny a part of yourself, whether it's the masculine or the feminine, the soul eventually says, okay, we're doing a whole lifetime of just that to make up for it.
Precisely. Seth says an entity is composed of what you may call feminine and masculine characteristics. You can't ignore half of your nature forever. If you focus only on the masculine, the feminine builds up like pressure behind a dam.
And eventually the dam breaks.
And you get a life that is overwhelmingly feminine to compensate. It really challenges the whole idea of gender being fixed to the soul.
Right. The soul is everything. The life is just the costume we put on to explore one aspect of it.
And sometimes if we wear the same costume too many times in a row, the universe forces a wardrobe change.
A flamboyant wardrobe change in Lauren's case. So let's zoom out. What does this all mean for us sitting here today? We've gone from the limits of the intellect to high seas drama, pre-birth theater lobbies, and the fluid nature of gender and time.
I think the core lesson brings us right back to that first point about the camouflage reality. We move through our days thinking that what we see with our eyes is the only truth. We think our logic is the only tool we have.
But Session 94 tells us there's this massive, complex machinery operating just beneath the surface.
The inner gears. Yes. We are planning our lives before we're born. We're rehearsing our arguments in our sleep. We're balancing our gender energies across centuries. And our conscious minds, our intellects, they're mostly oblivious to all of it.
It's like we're the actors on the stage thinking the play is totally real, while our inner self is the director, the casting agent, and the set designer all at once.
And Seth's invitation is to stop just acting and to start listening to the director, to immerse yourself in that inner data, to respect your dreams not as random noise, but as the actual blueprints of your reality.
So if you want to understand yourself, you have to learn the language of the inner senses, which is symbolic, it's associative, it's poetic.
It is not a spreadsheet.
Well said. Now, if this deep dive has piqued your curiosity, and honestly, how could it not? We really, really urge you to go to the source. We are just scratching the surface here.
Absolutely. We strongly encourage you to study the Seth Material books for yourself. There is a depth there that you just have to experience directly.
You can find these books, specifically the early sessions, by visiting the New Awareness Network. Your website is sethcenter.com/early sessions.
Again, that is sethcenter.com/the early sessions. A huge thank you to the New Awareness Network for publishing these sessions and keeping this incredible material available for all of us.
And as we wrap up, here is a final thought to chew on tonight.
When you close your eyes tonight, pay attention. Pay attention to the setting of your dreams.
If you dream of a family member, ask yourself, is this a memory of a past life where you were shipmates? Is it a rehearsal for a conversation you're going to have next week? Or are you back in that theater lobby checking the script before the next act begins?
And if you find yourself wearing pajamas in that dream, maybe ask yourself, what am I hesitating to face? What part of me doesn't want to be naked in the world?
Sweet dreams, everyone. We'll see you in the next deep dive.